Hello everyone and welcome back to new Super Mario Bros Wii without jumping. Again. Now, before I hop into this, I should probably talk about my history with this challenge. Now, back in 2018, I originally tried to beat the game without jumping, but I allowed a propeller suit, which made the game pretty easy. Then, back in 2021, I attempted to beat it without the propeller suit, or any items for that matter, as well as I banned all secret exits and because of that, it was a much more difficult challenge. However, while I was making that challenge, another version started up, that being one that banned a propeller suit, multiplayer, and secret exits, but it allowed things like wall jumps. This was Harry Mario's rendition of the Jumpless challenge, and it's been a community effort to actually try to beat the game with the minimum jumps required. And because of my knowledge of the game, I decided it would be fun to try to attempt this. But because people have already attempted levels from World 1 to World 3, I thought it would be more fun to look at World 4. So welcome to the Water World, let's hop right into it. Now, as we're hopping into this, I should probably mention that this is going to be some looser commentary, not like an episode of The Games Must Go On where I actually have a script or something. Mostly because, one, I don't want this video to take 100 years, and two, this is sort of what I did back when I originally did the Jumpless challenge for this game. Now, there you might have noticed that I jumped out of a water, which would normally be banned. However, that technically wasn't a jump. I was instead pushed out by the bubble pipe. Yeah, as long as you have enough vertical velocity as you're leaving the water, you'll actually do a sort of auto jump, which is perfectly allowed. Now here, that is the reason I brought in the penguin suit, because I can actually freeze enemies and then actually stand on them as they come to the surface. That is basically the only way to break water in this level, so it is definitely a necessity. However, I should mention that I guess you could use the ice flower instead, but penguin suit's better. Don't at me. So yeah, here we're just basically doing the same thing. We're trying to wall jump off that fish, and I should probably note that that's pretty tough. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but you can easily mess it up. Here I can just go across the bottom. Now, normally jumping off the bottom of the water or the sea floor, that is normally illegal and would count as a jump, but because we have the penguin suit, we can just press up on the D-pad and we'll be good to go. Now here we'll go ahead, freeze this guy, get under him, and we need him for this ledge up here. And you could technically use them for the next section, but we have urchins, so that's not going to be a problem. Here he comes, and we actually do a little bit of a glitch here, and that's because if you stand on the right spot after he breaks free of the ice, he'll actually just become big, spiny cheep. I don't know why that happens, I really don't, but it does happen. Here I go ahead and wait. The reason is that urchin will roll onto the bubble pipe at the bottom, and I actually froze him so he fell off of it. Yeah, these bubble pipes I definitely want to be off so I can actually get under this big urchin. And once we're through there, we can go ahead and freeze this guy, wall jump off him, and there we go. That's basically all the challenging parts of this level. Well, except for one, which is at the very end. But this is honestly one of the easier levels in World 4, mostly because of all the water. Trust me, this is not the hardest one. It did have a lot of tech though with the penguin suit. With this, we can go ahead and freeze him. I'm just being really cautious because, like, I wouldn't call it the hardest thing in the world, but I definitely don't want to have to do all those jumps again. They are a little stressful. Here we use that same bubble pipe jump trick in order to get out of the water without jumping. And here we actually need to land on top of the paratroopa, or we need to wall jump off the right side of it. And the way I do that is I just do a corner jump there and then a runoff jump there, where I go ahead and just run off and then jump off the Koopa. And there we go. No jumps. Now we're on to 4-2. And I'll be honest, this level is more annoying than 4-1. I'm not sure if I would really call it harder, but it's more annoying. And that's because we have to bounce across these cheeps. And let me just tell you, these guys are annoying as heck. Now, if you land on top of them, you'll bounce off of them, which is perfectly legal and is a great way to get height. Problem, if you touch anywhere that isn't the very top of them, you die. This is not fun. You know, if you could jump and you were actually like falling onto Cheep Cheeps, that would be one thing. But because you actually have to like run at them so you land at the top of their hitbox, it is so annoying. And I do not want to admit how many times I died here. Now here, because Mini Mario can run on the surface of water, I go ahead and I'm trying to get back left. Um, I really just need height in order to get easier bounces off of Cheep Cheeps because I need a lot of height for this next section. And it's easier to get height when you already have height. Also, what I just did there, the reason I paused was so I can actually hold the jump button, because obviously you get more height when you're holding the jump button, even when you're just bouncing off of enemies. So yeah, right now I'm just trying to get up in the air so I can ground pound on a Cheep Cheep, because ground pounds, they send you to the stratosphere. Right now I'm getting unlucky. I finally have a Cheep Cheep that comes close, and you might have wondered, hey, why don't you just run into it? And the reason is it would have killed me, most likely. These guys are really inconsistent, and it made this level really annoying. But yeah, and this is the reason we need it in order to get over this ledge, as Cheep Cheeps actually stop spawning once you get past the midpoint in that last barrel. So you couldn't actually use Cheep Cheeps to get up that last ledge unless you're coming from that far away. Now we're sort of in the easier section. However, I kind of want to delve into the fact that I am in fact using Dolphin for this, my dumped copy. And yeah, I'm mostly using that because I don't have access to my Wii right now. And it will help later because I am going to be using save states in future levels. However, these first two, I decided it just to be more authentic and to not use save states. So yeah, again, this is stressful because if one mistake and I'm going back to the beginning. To be honest, I should have just used a checkpoint, but checkpoints are for babies. Or at least that's what I thought before, using save states later on. But we'll get into that later. Here, right now, I'm just trying to hit a Cheep Cheep without being too close to die, and it's not that hard, it's just, why won't they get closer to me? We get lucky, and there we go. And I actually get really lucky here because immediately bouncing off of that guy, and we're basically at the end now. We just have to make one last wall jump, and we'll be good. Also, you'll notice I'm using Mini Mario. This is because Mini Mario is really good in this challenge. I mean, he's floaty. What did you expect? You might be able to do it with the penguin suit, but actually probably not, just because of that halfway jump. And now we're on to 4-Dash Tower, also known as why I needed save states. So first thing first, this is not a jumpless challenge, it's a minimum jumps run, and this level is to thank for that. It's not the only level that requires jumps, but we have 3 before reaching the first pipe. I really doubt you can get rid of them because, it's a little hard to get height in this with how far the walls are. Here, now that we have some metal crates that are moving along, we can actually get some sort of manipulated jumps. I feel like with the perfect jump here, you might be able to make it to the conveyor, but if you didn't, I don't see you saving a jump here. Mostly because one thing you might not realize is in order to wall jump, you don't just have to be on the wall when you're falling. You have to be 1 block above the wall. Any lower and the game will just say, no, we're not going to let you wall slide. So that makes wall jumps a little more difficult in this game than you'd probably expect. And that'll come into play a little bit later as well. Now, I mentioned that I was using save states here, and I have used, let's say, quite a few save states in this level. However, I should also mention that I used slowdown in this level in particular. In all the other ones, save states were enough, well, at least all the ones after this level, because obviously in 4-1 and the other level, I didn't use save states. But in the other levels, I used just save states, not slowdown. Also, for this level, I mostly played at full speed. It was just one section, and you'll see why. We'll get there. I'll stop being impatient. This section overall wasn't too bad. I will say that I did actually play this level twice over, because the first time I went to the secret exit, which was obviously banned. So yeah, I actually had to come back here and play it a second time. So I can say that this section isn't too bad. However, the section after where you would normally split off for the secret exit definitely is bad. Here, I just forgot that you can just wall jump off the left side and was wall jumping against the right side repeatedly, but eventually I stopped being dumb, and from here we can just hop into the pipe. And here is where I use slowdown. And it's because, yeah, good luck doing this at full speed. I think it would definitely be possible. I mean, especially since I already did it. But climbing this monstrosity was terrible, especially since you need enough time in order to make that jump. That jump right there was by far the hardest in the run, from that last metal crate all the way to the side. And I'll be honest, I did not expect to get through that entire room without a jump at all. Anyway, now it's windy. We don't have any way to get off the floor, so we just have to jump. Then we can just stay in the air by sliding down the wall, and Mini Mario does Mini Mario things. We can just ground pound her 3 times, and she is a pretty easy fight. Now, I know I did mention that I was going to use save states in future levels, mostly because I didn't want to waste 1,000 years, but next level, I will say I did not use save states. Anyway, that was 4-dash tower with 7 jumps. It's not a small number, but for 4-dash tower, it is honestly not bad. Anyway, 4-4 time, and yeah, no save states, but we do have 2 jumps. The first one's in order to get into that pipe. I don't really see a way to get off the ground without, jumping, so that's an unfortunate one. But overall, this is a very easy level where, yeah, you just hold right and swim. Now, I will say that in the rules for the actual challenge, while swimming is allowed, obviously I mentioned that jumping at the surface of water is banned, but I should also mention that jumping off the bottom of the sea floor is also banned. That will actually come into play later, but it's also a little bit important here because I have to be careful not to actually, land on the ground where I can't escape. It's not that big of a problem since we're playing as Mini Mario, which I guess I can mention I probably shouldn't have. I probably just should have taken a penguin suit. But I was thinking, oh, I don't have cheats on. I'm not going to use cheats. So what if I run out? And due to that paranoia, I instead used Mini Mario instead of penguin suit. Fun fact about the next level, penguin suit, which might not make sense because it's a ghost house, but you'll see. We'll get there. Overall, this is one of the easiest levels. It's just kind of sad that we have a couple of jumps. We had that one at the beginning, and we're going to have one at the end. Also, I don't go into pipe immediately, just because I'm looking for a star, because, a star would be able to actually solve the problem at the end, but since there isn't one, we just have to eat another jump. You might be able to wall jump off the left side from the pipe, but again, you would need enough height to not only make it past the pipe in distance, but you would also need to be high enough to be 1 block above, and I'm just not sure if that's possible. I really don't think it is, and from my testing, it wasn't. Also, like I showed, even with a max wall jump, I still wasn't able to make it. Anyway, Ghost House time. This level was fun. Now, this level I did use save states, and that's because this first section was really annoying with a penguin suit. And surprisingly, the reason we're using this isn't for the first section. I guess that's not really that surprising, but yeah, Mini Mushroom would have been much nicer here, but not for the next section. And hence why I'm using the penguin suit. Because the penguin suit has a ice attack, which is completely useless in this level, but it's fine. We're really using it for something else. But it's an okay power-up. We just have to be very careful here. Doing the Boo Dance here kind of reminds me of Mario Maker, but overall, as long as we don't make any mistakes, it's no problem. It's just a lot of waiting. I am trying to sort of say things, but there really isn't a lot to talk about this section. Just raise yourself up on a platform, and then fall and bounce off of a rat, or just do a wall jump. That's basically how this section goes. Here we do the same thing. We fall off and we'll do a wall jump onto the next section, which we'll have to raise up. We go ahead and lure the Boo over to the left. We want to get over him. And now we actually have probably, I guess, the hardest part of the level, where we actually have to make it into a section and wall jump a bunch. And we're going to try to keep the Boo on the right from getting any lower, because we actually need to go under him. I actually messed it up and landed on the platform, which was kind of risky, because if that platform gets too low, you can't wall jump against it anymore. Now that we're here, fun fact, I am really dumb. I could have just used the penguin suit to crash through the brick blocks by doing its slide attack, but nope, I just waited for the P-switch. I mean, it worked, but still, kind of dumb of me. Anyway, this is why we have the penguin suit, because scaredy rats are here. They might be thinking, oh, why don't you just use the mini mushroom and then slide down the stairs? Because the stairs are basically a slope, right? Well, they are basically a slope, but the game's physics treats them as stairs, which means we can't actually slide on them. Which means, nope, we can't actually, slide. Kind of unfortunate, but hey, at least it's only 0 jumps with the penguin suit. Just kidding, we have the end still. I guess spoilers for the end. At the very end, they decide to put a little gap, or not a gap, a little stair, and yeah, we have to jump over that. I don't think with that other door you would be able to do it, but who knows? I mostly just tested that the normal way. This level was pain. Now I got it in 2 jumps, and that was to get to the question mark blocks, and then in order to get to the cloud. But after that, it's pretty easy. I didn't test much on the normal route of just not using the cloud, mostly because with the cloud you skip the whole level, and I feel like obviously you need 1 jump in order to clear the first pipe at the very beginning. I really doubt it'd be possible to clear the entire rest of a level without another jump, especially since there's so many more physical obstacles. So yeah, cloud it was. It felt like an obvious option. However, I do think it might be one of these levels that might have some possible solution. Who knows? This level probably received the least amount of testing, just because this option was right here, and also I really hate the Lakitu's RNG. After dealing with the Cheep Cheeps for hours on end, I decided that this was good. 2 jumps. And now we have the castle. Honestly, not that bad of a level, but it has its tricky parts. I definitely wouldn't call this one a freebie. We can go over here and wall jump off the side, and now we're just going to do a bunch of enemy bounces. At least with these Koopa Troopas, they're a lot more predictable than Cheep Cheeps, so we can just repeatedly bounce on them. And that basically gets us through the entire first section. Next up, we do have a jump, but at least it's not more. This easily could have turned into several jumps. But what we can do is right here we can do this jump. We have to jump over this. I feel like you might somehow, using some glitch, you might be able to get over that with using the question mark block while jumping to a left face or right faced wall. But I don't know. I've had no success with that. From here we had to make that jump. That was definitely not a fun one. The skewer's hitbox is extremely janky, I found, and that made that jump really difficult, but still possible. Here we can just keep on wall jumping up, and next we have a water section. That's basically the most difficult part of this level, I would say. Now we just have to go for the pipe, swim through here, and then we're at the last section. All right. Here we have one more jump. What I do here is I actually wait for the skewer to start retracting. The moment I hear that sound cue, I go ahead and just jump over from the wall jump. You have to be able to make that little air twirl, which is one reason I don't think you'd be able to use a fire flower, that little section after the checkpoint. And the reason I say you'd want a fire flower is because we have Wendy again, which obviously means we have to jump in order to kill her. Maybe. Now, from my testing, this boss fight is really janky, because what it does is it actually fills the entire room up with water. Now, the water drains because you can't actually attack when you're underwater unless you have fire, but what I've found is that if you're moving when the water rises up again, because it does rise up again, you can actually get on top of the water. Problem with that, you don't just stay on top of the water. You'll instead get pushed down. You'll instead get knocked down because the water will actually rise up above the ceiling. And obviously you can't just go through the ceiling. Unfortunately, this game believes in physics a little too well. So yeah, you'd get pushed under the water, and obviously you can't attack underwater, so you would still be kind of screwed. So I just eat a jump on the right side once the water drains, and yeah, we got ourselves the key. But we do have 4-airship left. And this level I feel like might be able to go to 0. Unfortunately, we do have this jump right here. But if you were to use a penguin suit, you could slide into that block, into the box. However, then you would have to make it past all of this, and in particular, you'd have to make it past this jump and over the burner without, Mini Mario's extreme floatiness. If you were able to make it past that, you might be able to do it, but I really doubt that's possible, especially from all the testing I did. Other than that, though, now it comes to manipulating Mecha Koopas to use them for bouncy springboards. We can go ahead and throw this guy down here. He doesn't really matter, but he's a fun way to get up after doing that. We just fall on him, do a ground pound jump, and bada boom, bada bing, we're up. We can just go over this whole section with wall jumps, and I actually made it all the way to the POW block here, and then we can just bounce off of a bomb. And here I actually got really lucky. I just did a wall jump, and a bomb luckily made it. If that bomb hadn't made it, we would have been screwed, but he did. And here we can just bounce off of them. And I didn't make it to the pipe, so I went ahead and used another bomb. And then, because I guess I should have mentioned it earlier, but while propeller suits are banned, the propeller blocks are not. Just quick disclaimer. And yeah, we can use this one to get all the way up here, and then the boss fight uses propeller blocks, making it pretty easy. So yeah, in order to beat World 4, you have to use 16 jumps, at least by my calculations. I feel like there might be 1 or 2 spots that might be able to go lower with either some really precise movement or just hidden power-ups and hidden blocks that I'm missing or something like that. But overall, I think I got most of it pretty well. Make sure to check out the Minimum Jumps Discord in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.